Oh, right. Today in the shop we have a 2022 Fortuner, and it's really brand new. It's from the casa. It's nice and smooth. Wow. I think just freshly waxed. Very, very smooth. Paint's very nice. Anyway, he's in here for a full exhaust and ECU remap, and we'll show you exactly how it's done, what parts are replaced, and how much power we make. Alright, step one with the exhaust is we have to remove all the stock components, and we did just that, and these are the stock components of the Fortuner. So let me lay it out here in a manner that makes a lot more sense. There's a lot of confusion about the terms out there, especially when people talk among themselves. It's basically the ignorant leading the ignorant and the blind leading the blind. First and foremost, diesel cars, diesel SUVs don't have any headers. They have a turbo manifold. Not exactly the same thing as a header, because if it was, we would be using the same term. So no, diesel cars don't have any headers, and they do have a manifold which has all four ports that leads to one port to the turbo. But no, changing that does not do anything. And you cannot change that into something better than the stock design. So that's why we don't do it. We'll start off with here. This is actually the downpipe. This whole, these two things connected, this is the downpipe. The new way of doing it is, well, it's not new, but pretty recently, to save on costs and other things, they use a flange with a V-band clamp to mount this to the turbo instead of the usual 3 or 4 nuts and bolts. Why this way? Well, easier to install. You just slide it in, you clamp it, that's it, instead of wasting time to do 4 bolts and 4 nuts. And cost-wise, 4 bolts and 4 nuts are actually more expensive than 1 V-band clamp. Every little bit helps. This big fat thing is the catalytic converter. Just in case you're wondering, no, our Fortuners as of 2022 Hilux Innova still does not have a DPF, AdBlue, or urea injection. So thank God for that. We just have a normal catalytic converter here, and it both goes out here like that. The size of this is about 2.5. It varies actually. There are some parts that are 2.5. There are some parts that are 2 3/4. This actually is about 2 3/4, not 2.5. This part here is 2.5, then it shrinks down a little bit. So these two things make up the downpipe. This is technically your mid pipe, and your muffler is in the middle. So the muffler is incorporated into the mid pipe. Most people think that you can just change the muffler. No, you can't, unless you want to. Actually, no, you really can't, because if you see here, the stock muffler, the configuration is an offset in and offset out. So when it goes in, it's on this side, it's a bit on the right side, and when it goes out, it's here in the center, and this is on the top, it's on the bottom. So you cannot cut this and just put on another muffler, because the two tubes will never, it's like this, it won't meet. It's not like that, it's like that. So no, you cannot replace the muffler alone. If you really want to do that, you have to cut it here, and you have to cut it here. It's kind of stupid. You don't cut the stock parts. You leave it as is, so when the time comes to sell the car, you can put it back to stock. Then the aftermarket exhaust that you bought, you sell it to another guy with a Fortuner. And oh, by the way, the exhaust for the Fortuner has been the same since this generation came out. I don't care if it's a 2.4, 2.8 GR Limited Conquest or whatever the hell they call it. It's the same kind of exhaust, and it will all fit. So if it came from a Fortuner that looks like this, it's still the same since 2016. And this part here is the rear pipe that goes out to the tail. This does not do anything actually, except have the exhaust gas to go out to a shiny tip like that, which everybody seems to want. So a full exhaust means from the downpipe all the way up to the tip. And we'll be installing it with a 3-inch full system, meaning 3 inches from the downpipe to the mid pipe to the rear pipe and to the tip. And we will have a Borla muffler here in the middle. That design is straight through, meaning in and out are on the same level, and then when you turn the muffler around, you can look straight through it. That's why it's called a straight through design. And we'll be doing ECU remap on this car too. All right, to remap the Fortuner 2021 and up, usually we can now actually read the ECU. So this is what we're doing right now. You see this green status bar over here, that's at 53%. So we have to wait until it's 100%. So that means it reads the whole amount of the ECU. This is probably about 4 megabytes worth. This usually takes about 25-30 minutes to do. So we're about 15 minutes in. So after we read it, we can open it. I'll show you the screen later once we open it and what are the values, some of the values that we edit out. And that's exactly how we do the remap. So once that happens, we'll save the file, we'll write it back. Thankfully, writing does not take as long as reading. People who walk through those gates all have the same complaint. Mabagal, malalim ang tapak, mahina ang pickup, makupad. There's all the bad things. So all of them exactly this same script, no matter what car it gets brought in. And they're wondering that advertise this car is like 220 horses or 230 horses. Why is it so slow? Well, first and foremost, all of you have to understand that 230 horses does not happen the second you press on the pedal. No, it's not even the half second you press on the pedal. It doesn't work that way. And the dyno chart tells it all. That your full power only happens at around 3,500 RPM. And this is the stock dyno chart. At full throttle, your car is this Fortuner is only making 40 horses at 2,200 RPM. That's already full throttle right there. Then it ramps up, not exactly fast, not exactly slow, but kind of okay. It's pretty linear. Then it peaks at 190 horses to the wheels, then drops down to 150 when you reach red line at 4.2. So this is what people complain about. And the torque is also the same. It's a straight line like this, and you're only making 100 foot-pounds at 2,000 RPM. So after remapping, we will correct all of this because everybody wants the half second you step on the pedal, you want it to go right away. All right, now that we've read our Fortuner's ECU, and we've opened it, so this is what it looks like. Yes, it's a bunch of numbers, and I can see that most of you are turning away now. Oh shit, it's math. I hate math. Yes, most of you hate math. But that's what's required when you do remapping. It requires a lot of math and understanding what these values mean. So I'll try to give you a brief summary as much as possible on what exactly it means. So the stuff that we download from the ECU is the same as the operating system of your phone. So think of it as the OS. Then you can bring your phone to Green Hills, any Changi, they can crack it, they can open it, they can unlock it, all of these things. So what they can do is actually open up iOS or Android and see exactly what the parameters are. And this is what we're doing here. So this is exactly what the parameters are in the engine to be able to control the performance. So as you can see, it's quite a lot. These are everything that we can control. Each one of these things is called a map, and a map pretty much looks like this. It looks like a big Excel sheet. You have an X and a Y axis. So usually one axis is almost always engine RPM. It's this one X axis, and this one Y axis is almost usually in terms of load, meaning how much you step on the ECU. Just this one's a bit different because your pedal actually is input for several things. It could be input for boost, could be input for injection, could be input for timing, so on and so forth. And this one here, what I have open, this particular map is called the EGR map. Everybody loves this one. And this is all over the groups, and if there's still forums, they always ask, do you delete the EGR? No, we don't delete the EGR. We disable it. You don't physically take the EGR out, you don't blank it, you don't do anything to it. The correct way of doing it is the ECU telling the EGR never to open again. And this is what it is, and this is the table for that one. So I'll guide you through on what these numbers mean. So these things are in terms of percentages. So if we hover around here, so 13.8% at engine speed of 2.2, injection dose of that and that and that. So that means at 2,200 RPM and at about this much load, so that's about light throttle 10%, your EGR opens 13%. And it gets bigger and bigger as the RPM goes higher and higher and all of that stuff. So what we're gonna do with this one is, as you can notice that the first few here is 0. So this is at idle. So the EGR is open only at idle because if you're sitting around in traffic and not moving, that valve is open and all exhaust gases go through that valve to go back into the intake to be burned off again for fuel economy and all of that. So that's why it's 0. So if you want to shut down the EGR completely, what we're going to do is basically set everything to 0. There. In effect, the EGR don't open no more at any RPM. So this one here is considered EGR disabled. So that's exactly what tuning is, and that's only one parameter. So that's EGR. We have here boost, we have fuel pressure, here we have boost here. We have fuel pressure, we have injection volume. We have throttle, well, there's another one, speed limiter. So we can disable it. It's at 250 now. It used to be 200, so I can make this 300 if I want. Not as if you're gonna go that fast. This one here, this is for throttle response. This is what everybody complains. This is the delay. Pilot injection, this is pilot injection is actually the initial injection once it starts, so minimal values here. Okay, so after all of this is done, after we pretty much change the parameters that we want, what we do is we export this file. And then what we'll do is we'll open this file here in PCM Flash. Forgot what I saved it as is. Edit SW number. There you go. That one. And then we'll plug in this cable here back into the car, and then hit the right button. Then it will write this new file, and then after it's written, automatically, like magic, there will be performance increase, which we will be measuring on the dyno exactly how much. Normally, we expect about 40-50 horses more, and about 80 to 100 Newton meters more on average. That's either for a 2.4 or a 2.8. 2.8 can get slightly higher, depending on, well, of course, there's several factors. Number one, age of the car. Number two, condition of the car. And sometimes it really comes down to, there are cars that are simply just more powerful than the other. No two cars make exactly the same horsepower. The same way that when you have a set of twins or triplets, you tell them to go to a race, there will only be one winner. Not all three of them will cross the finish line at the same time. So the cars are also that way. Now that we're done with this, we'll take it out and then put it into the car. So as you can see a while ago, when that's being run on full throttle, there is next to no smoke. And let's look at the dyno chart. So these red lines are stock again. So this is our remap now. Most people will just look at these two numbers and say that, huh? 5 horse gain? The fuck? Are you kidding me? No, this is not how you read the dyno chart. You don't just look at those two numbers. You look at actually the totality of the graph. Math, again, this requires math, and everybody, each one of you hates math, but you have to do it. The amount of horsepower you gain is not just these two numbers, because that two numbers, the yellow one and the green one, is this one. It's that point and that point. But your total horsepower gain is this entire thing over here. So from 40 at 2,200 RPM, we went up to 150. So that's 110 horse gain. 70 to 170, 100 to 190, 130 to 190, so on and so forth. So again, this is without smoke. And just talk to the owner, and he's okay with some smoke. So that's what we're gonna be doing. And if we do add smoke, more smoke simply means that more fuel will be added. So this graph ideally should go up here and go up here and then go down here. So it will not be the same level as this one. Oh, by the way, this 190 figure here, that's already with the exhaust. No stock, no nothing bone stock Fortuners around 165, 170 for the 2.81. So the exhaust itself is about 15 horses-ish. So we'll do another tune and then we'll dyno it again to see if we can cross the 200 line. All right, we're finally done, and after about 4 rounds of tuning, this is where we're at. So again, stock. This is already with exhaust. Initial tune, no smoke. Tune some more, still no smoke, which is good. So we ended up at around 225 horses. If we count it from bone stock, no nothing, of 165, the graph should be around like this over here, like that. So total horsepower gain is this area. I've been doing this a long time, so I can average this out basically in my head. So this is about 60 to 80 horses more. From 2,200 all the way up to 4,200 RPM. This entire thing here, there, that one over there. It's about 60 to 80 horses. Torque is the same way. It's this one here, like that. That entire big thing over there to there. So this is around, gain-wise, we're looking at about 120 to 160 foot-pounds on average for the whole thing here, like that. Oh yes, 2022 Fortuner, we can tune. So we can tune that. That means we can tune the older ones, 21, 2020, 18, 19, 16, so on and so forth. Let's wait for the next Fortuner. Let's see if they're gonna change it next year, but I don't think so, because the first generation Fortuner, it actually lasted about 10 years before they changed body styles or the chassis itself. So if this came out in 2016, next new model might actually be 2026. So yeah, happy days ahead. So remember, we're the only ones who can do your exhaust and remap all in one go. And this entire process, by the way, if you're wondering, it's just one entire day. So you don't need to leave the car. You can actually wait for it and bring it in by 9, and it's 4 o'clock right now. So yeah, we're done in a day.